Okay, here we go, Pet Sematary. I watched this movie a while back, and it was a movie which was kind of on my mind for like a few years. I've been wanting to see it for a while. Like, Pet Sematary, it's just kind of referenced a lot, I guess, in TV shows and such. I'm pretty sure The Simpsons referenced it a few times. Like, it's just like a famous title, a famous book and a famous movie. Well, the movie isn't famous, but like everybody knows the title, Pet Sematary. So, I saw this on Sky Movies, so I recorded it. I was like, yeah, I'll watch that later. I finally get to see it. So, the story for the movie, I'm not going to give too much away. Basically, a family move into a house, I don't know where, but a family move into a house, and near their new house is a pet cemetery. And basically there's a mysterious presence or force which is involved with the pet cemetery somehow, and I'll just leave it at that. So a family move into a house, there's a pet cemetery near their new house, and there's some sort of mysterious force or presence near the house. That's it. So that's all I'm going to say about the story. So I did like the movie. It was pretty enjoyable. Like, it wasn't great, but it was worth watching. You know, it killed 2 hours, and you know, I had fun with it. It was fine. This isn't the fault of the movie. This did kind of ruin my enjoyment of the movie, though. Like, I'm trying to appreciate the movie for what it would have been, how I would have found it had this not have happened. But basically, I pressed the info button on my Sky remote when the movie started, because I had no idea what this movie was about, so I wanted to get the gist of it, to know what direction the movie was going in. So I pressed info on my Sky remote. For those of you who don't know, this brings up the plot synopsis of the movie. Like, Sky writes their own plot synopsis for like all their movies. So I pressed the info button, the plot synopsis popped up, I read it. And basically the plot synopsis gave away the first 3/4 of the movie. And this is like a 2-hour long movie, and it's pretty slow paced as well. So basically, the plot synopsis summed up the first 3/4 of the movie. So that's like 90 minutes of you sitting there knowing exactly what's going to happen and waiting for it to happen. So there's no suspense whatsoever in the first 90 minutes of the movie. It's not until like the 3/4 mark, the 90-minute mark, are you actually, kind of not knowing what's going to happen. At least I was. I mean, like I said, plot synopsis gave away the first 90 minutes of the movie, and then I have half an hour of not knowing what's going to happen next. So, and like I said, it's a slow-paced movie, so don't get me wrong, I was still like entertained by it, but at the same time, I was just kind of like, I just wanted the thing to happen. So for me, there was only suspense in the last like 30 minutes of the movie, because like I said, the first 90 minutes of the movie had been spoiled for me by the plot synopsis. So I do feel as if I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more had I not read the plot synopsis, because that gave away a bit too much. And like, I know it's not the movie's fault, it's like Sky's fault for putting a plot synopsis which was too detailed, I guess. So like, I'm trying to appreciate the fact that it's not the movie's fault, and I'm trying to appreciate the movie for what it was, and I'm trying to think, would I have enjoyed it? How much more would I have enjoyed it if I had not had the first 9 minutes of the movie spoiled for me? So I'm trying to appreciate the movie for that, So I do feel as if the movie would have benefited, from me. Like, I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more had I not had the first 90 minutes of the movie spoiled for me. So yeah, I didn't enjoy the movie as much as I could have because of that fact. But yeah, like, I still liked it though. It was still like an interesting movie that killed, 2 hours, so it was fine. Then there's a next door neighbour, and I like that character. He kind of reminded me of Ralph, Crazy Ralph from the Friday the 13th Part 1 and 2. The character reminded me a lot like him. I guess just the way he looks. I mean, he didn't speak or act anything like Ralph, but I guess he just looked like him with the hat, and I don't know, he just looked like him. But I did like the character though. He was seemed like an alright guy. I kind of liked him. He was likable, I also liked the ghost as well. Throughout the whole entire movie, this ghost appears. Don't worry, it's not a spoiler. But like, this ghost pops up throughout the whole entire movie, and I just kind of liked him, and the way he was speaking to the wife in the last 30 minutes of the movie. I don't know, I liked him. He was fun to watch. There's a death in this movie. One of the characters die. This happens about like 3/4 of the way through the movie. A character dies, and it was actually pretty impactful. Like, I don't really get too sympathetic or anything like that when I see someone die in a movie. Like, it's very rare for me to feel sorry for the character if they die or anything. But it was kind of it was actually surprisingly impactful. Like it was pretty effective. I mean, I guess for the wrong reasons, I guess. I mean, I didn't care about the character dying. Like the character that died, I was like, okay, well, like I didn't care. Like I didn't have any reason to care for the character. But I'm saying everyone else's reaction, because like a bunch of people witnessed the character die, and their reaction, like it's actually, this movie is pretty well acted as well, so the way everyone else reacted to the character's death is why I felt sorry. Like I was feeling sorry for the people who watched the person die. So if someone dies and all of the characters freak out and start crying, and I was like feeling sorry for the characters crying because they felt bad. So I was kind of feeling, I didn't feel bad or care about the person that died, but I did care about, I was, you know, I was like feeling, I was like sympathetic towards the people crying about it. Like they were just good actors, and I know a lot of people have criticised their acting. Like they say, like they overreacted. Some people say. Personally, I think the acting is fine. I think, you know, how would you react to a situation like that? I think they did fine, and yeah, it's just the acting was fine in that scene, and the scene is actually well done. That death scene as well, and yeah, so that scene was kind of effective as well. Like it's like how people say Brad Pitt overreacts at the end of Seven. I was like I heard some people complain that Brad Pitt overreacts at the end of Seven, and I'm just like, no, he doesn't. No, he didn't. Like I was fine with the way Brad Pitt acted at the end of Seven. Like how would you? Like I said, nobody knows how they're going to react to a situation like that. It seemed fine to me. Like I bought it. It was believable. So it's like the same with this movie. How people criticize the actors for overreacting, when personally I think they're fine. Okay, so what else is there? Okay, so this movie is like I said, it's slow paced, but it's kind of interesting anyway. And it would have been a hell of a lot more interesting had I not known how this, you know, how the story was going. Like basically, all you need to know is this: a family move into a house. Near their new house is a pet cemetery, and there's a mysterious force or presence by the pet cemetery. Well, just say that. Like you don't need to know anything more than that. Anything more than that, you will spoil the movie for yourself. But, so yeah, the first like 90 minutes of the movie, they were fine. Like, they were interesting even though I knew what was going to happen. Like, it was fun to watch anyway. The last act of the movie is where it falls apart, I felt. Like, the first 90 minutes of the movie are pretty serious. I'm not sure if the last half an hour of the movie was supposed to be serious or not. It does descend into like a horror comedy. I'm not sure if it was intentional or unintentional. I mean, the way this movie ends, the last act, you know, just, sorry, I can't take it seriously. It's just the acting from a particular character. I won't say who because spoilers. But this acting from a specific character just ruins the last act of the movie. It just didn't work. Like the last act of the movie just descends into like unintentional comedy. It just didn't work. Like, the movie really falls apart in the last act, which is a shame because the first 90 minutes of the movie are pretty serious and pretty solid. But like I said, last act of the movie, nope. Sorry, didn't buy it, didn't like it. And also this movie was rated 18, so I was kind of wondering, okay, so with it, why is this rated 18 now? I mean, nothing really disturbing or violent happens in the movie. And then like in the last like 10 or 20 minutes of the last 10 or 20 minutes of the movie, some pretty gruesome stuff happens. I mean, it's nothing like extremely like gruesome or gory. Don't get me wrong. It's just like one or two like just like a few mutilations. But I was kind of like, ooh, okay, that's why this movie's rated 18. And this actually does have one mutilation, which will probably have people squirming in the seats. It's to do with the Achilles heel. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. You know, the back of the ankle, that part. I mean, if you thought that scene in Hostel, like, everybody has certain things which like makes them cringe. You know, like, you might be pretty desensitized to everything, but then you might have one or two things which affect you. Like, some people are affected by eyeballs getting cut out, or some people are affected by things to do with teeth. And, like, you know, there's going to be some people who are affected by the Achilles heel, when people get their Achilles heels mutilated. Like, personally, I'm fine with that stuff. It didn't bother me. But when I sat there and watched that, it kind of caught me off guard, and I was kind of like, I bet that made some people squirm. Like, if you, yeah, that part, there's just one part of this movie which might make you squirm. If you thought the Achilles heel scene in Hostel was bad, you haven't seen anything yet. This was pretty messed up. Especially considering how the first 90 minutes of the movie were pretty tame, and then all of a sudden, the last 10 or 20 minutes of the movie have this one pretty extreme mutilation, and it's kind of, it was effective. Like, it caught me off guard. I didn't see it coming. I was kind of like, well, okay, I wasn't expecting something that gruesome. But yeah, that was fun. Like the last 10 or 20 minutes of the movie, don't get me wrong, they might have been like it might have been over the top and pretty badly done. I mean, what was happening could have been fine. It's just the way it was all staged and acted is why it was kind of like a comedy. But what was happening was fine. Like it could have been done well. It's just the way it was acted and staged. That's why, you know. Let's see. Oh, I can't remember. I was going to say something. I can't remember. Hang on. Nope. It's completely lost me. I can't remember what I was going to say there. Okay. One last thing. The ending was great as well. I'm talking about like after everything's kind of been resolved, and then you have like the last, like I'm talking about the last 60 seconds of the movie. I thought that was great. Like the very final scene in, I'm not gonna say, but the very final scene was actually done well. I liked it. I bet some people won't like it or didn't like it, but I like the ending. I can't say anything more, spoilers of course. But that's pretty much all I have to say, I think. I would have enjoyed the movie a hell of a lot more had I not had the first 90 minutes of the movie spoiled for me. Like I said, it's a 2-hour long film. I had the first 90 minutes spoiled for me. I knew exactly what was going to happen in the first 90 minutes of the movie. And also, it's a slow-paced movie as well, so that didn't help. So I would have liked the movie more, I think, had I not had the first 90 minutes of the movie spoiled for me. But I still enjoyed it. It was still fun and interesting, you know. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was worth watching. I mean, the last act was pretty bad. It just descends into a comedy because of how it's staged and acted. And the last 10 or 20 minutes of the movie are surprisingly brutal. Like I said, not extremely gory, but it has 1 or 2 mutilations, which are kind of like, you know, I wasn't expecting that, you know. Yeah, but yeah, it was enjoyable though. It was still worth watching. So it's worth watching if you don't mind a slow-paced 2-hour long film. But yeah, there you go. So everything was fine, just the last act of the movie just went downhill from there. And that's all I have to say really, so I did like it. I'm going to go into spoilers for like 5 or 2 minutes, whatever here. So leave now if you don't want spoilers. Okay, so here's the spoilers. For starters, how the hell did that kid get the woman in the attic? Because for those of you who are watching spoilers, the spoiler part, and you haven't seen the movie, basically the Pet Cemetery, there's like this Indian burial ground like near the Pet Cemetery. If you bury someone or something inside there which has died, they will come back to life. So the guy, his kid dies 3/4 of the way through the movie. He buries his son in the burial ground, and then the kid comes back to life, but he's kind of like evil. So this is what the last act of the movie does. The kid comes back to life, but he's just killing people. Like he goes to kill the next door neighbour and kills the wife. That's what I didn't like. The kid, he wasn't a good actor, it just didn't work. Like when he's holding the knife, he's doing this really exaggerated, like with his throat. He's trying to sound really sinister and really evil, and like he's going like it's like he's trying to growl. Like he's trying to sound so evil and sinister, and he just lets out this really bad growl. It just didn't work. It just became a comedy. Like the image of the kid with this stupid ass face expression on his face, making that really stupid sound. It just turned into a comedy at the end. I didn't like it. And how did so I think this might be a flaw with the movie. Like the kid's really short. He's like, well, just short. Like we're talking like he can barely reach the door handle, kind of short. And basically he kills his mother, and then when the father investigates the house, the attic door, like he kills his mum on like the 2nd floor of the house. The attic door drops down, and his mother, she like falls out of the attic, and she's like hanging from a noose. I think she had like the skin ripped off her face or something. I can't remember. I've seen the movie for a while. But basically, how the hell did he get her in the attic? I guess you could explain that he got superhuman strength from being resurrected by this Indian burial ground, I guess. I guess I could buy that. And so what did he do? Like get a bunch of chairs so he could reach the string and pull down the attic? Like what was going on there? But yeah, like that kid, he just wasn't. He didn't really play the evil child's character really well. So that's why I didn't feel as if the last act worked too well. And that's all I have to say about the movie. So spoiler section of the review done. And that's it, so thanks for watching, see ya.